hockey fans, this is Stephen Highwood, juniorhockey.io, the Victorious Hockey Company, and the absolutely ridiculous Junior Hockey Discussion Group on Facebook. You are watching the Junior Hockey Morning Show. We are on the World Sports Broadcasting Network, WSBN.TV, Facebook, X, Twitter, wherever you are this morning. Hope that you are enjoying this nice chilly day in January. Eric Bauer is my, let's just call it what he is. Our co-host, probably semi-permanent. Haven't made him angry enough to quite quit just yet. It's not the payroll because I'm not paying him anything. I don't get paid anything. We do it for the love of the game. Eric, how cold is it in Jackson Hole?
Actually, I'm not in Jackson Hole, but I'm in Troy, Michigan today.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, it's I don't know, it's like 21 degrees this morning. So not terrible.
Not bad.
Not terrible.
We're going to feel good on Thursday and Friday. It's supposed to be as low in the 30s here in Orlando. That should make me feel like home. That'll be nice. Like Daisy will go to Disney dressed up like an Eskimo. Fun to watch that. So today's topic's a little bit different. We've been in the game a long time, Eric, and God only knows how many players have come through our systems that have been in the billeting situation. How many times have we dealt with first time away from their kid parents? What's that like for a parent, you think, Eric?
It's a great question, and I think it's extremely layered, right? Because not only as a coach and an operator like you and I've been, but even as a parent, I moved my son away at 15 years old. He played in the Tier 1 Elite League. My criteria as a parent was at that point, he had to live with the coach because I trusted the coach. I knew the family. The coach was a former NHLer, and I knew him and his wife extremely well. And I think as a parent, the one thing I wanted to make sure is my son's experience of being away from home for the first time, was met with a really good home life. And that includes, the bedroom situation, the meals, the structure, the discipline, the guardrails that exist. But as a coach, we deal with a lot of different elements. Some kids are more socially and mentally mature to handle it, and some aren't.
It's difficult, and I think it's difficult for the parents. The kids are excited. You got a new opportunity, a new place to live, new friends, new meal schedule. It's all different. And when you're, 16, 17 years old, you're kind of excited about those changes. This last week, Sonia moved out of the house last Sunday. Today is Monday again, a week later. And I've been a mess all week. I'm used to having this kid in the house, and it's unusual to wake up in the morning and she's not around, right? So no being angry at me, no fighting over who's getting the last cup of coffee. The girl's a caffeine nut for sure. And as a parent, for the first time really in my life, I'm dealing with the separation anxiety that I didn't have with the older kids. And it's kind of funny because for hockey, players go out to master their craft, to get better so they can be a professional. Sonia left home to move across town, closer to school, majoring in music so she can be a professional. So finally, really for the first time today, I got to realize that what I was feeling is what parents go through all the time. Eric?
Yeah, it's interesting. Each year comes with a set of challenges, right? And you're dealing with it now as a parent. But I think that is exactly why, as coaches and operators of organizations, extremely important that you have good billet families. We all hear the bad stuff, right? That's all we hear is, the kids weren't being fed, or the parents didn't have any structure, or, there's 5 kids living in one room, or we all hear the bad stuff. But I think that you're dealing with, as a parent, you're dealing with exactly what a lot of parents, they deal with in the AAA or the junior or the prep school. It's the environmental change at home. And some parents are really good at it. Some parents handle it really well. But, you're right. The kid's all excited to be there and be a part of something. But sometimes it manifests itself into some negativity, some bad choices on both sides, both parents and players' sides. But I think it's extremely important that a lot of these operators and a lot of these junior coaches, they have a solid billet program. I used to say it all the time. Billet families are like hockey pucks. You can't play without them.
It's funny along the East Coast, really from Maine all the way to Florida now. It seems to be this way where billet families are few and far between. We hear more about hockey houses than we do billet families in that corridor. And it can't be easy sending your kid into that jungle. They're going to be living with other players. They're trying to cook their own meals. Your Uber Eats account and is getting bombed for $1,000 a month as a parent, and you can't say no because they're feeding their kid, right? So I think that it's difficult for families to deal with that environment more so than a kid moving into a traditional billet program. In our case, we're lucky. She's moving in with a couple. Well, she moved in with a couple that are together. That I think they're also students, so that makes it a little bit easier. But in the end, I feel for the first time exactly what most parents have to be feeling: the unknown, right? What is she doing? I don't feel like I need to track her down and know where she's at every 10 minutes like I might have done when she was 14. And she's 19, and parents have to go through the same thing. As a hockey parent, it's got to be difficult, and it's interesting because I'm sure parents want to track their kids. I had a young player a number of years ago playing for David Cole in Casper, and I get a call from the parent, hey, the kids are moving at well over 100 miles an hour. What the heck's going on, right? So I called, and what do you mean I'm going 100 miles an hour? Your mom just called me. What's going on? Oh, it was only for a second. We were passing a truck. But parents don't understand that, right? So I don't think what I want to do is not micromanage. I don't want to know where she's at all the time. I want to be able to think, okay, she's mature enough to handle this. Let her handle it. And if she needs me, she's going to call me. And I think that's the position most parents should take. Eric?
Yeah, there's no question, especially if the kid's 18, right? If the kid's 18 years old or older, that's traditionally that's when kids are heading into college. And, we're a little bit on the other end of we're on the back nine. So I think, it's, I think that, you have to be comfortable. And I think first and foremost, you have to have a great relationship with your child. And that relationship with your child ultimately is the respect level and the guardrails that you set as a biological parent. Hey, listen, if you're doing something, I want to know about it. And I don't need to know all the details, but I want to know where you're at. And I know, I sent my son away at 15. And I sent him away. I didn't send him away. He chose that he wanted to play away from home at 15. And it was the best experience as a parent in my life, because one, I knew the Billet family was very solid. And I knew he was getting fed 3 meals a day. He was at the rink on time. He had workouts. Everything was really well planned and organized. So I didn't have to worry too much about him. But there was still a lot of times, he wasn't getting his homework done, and, but he had to walk that path himself. And, now my son's 28, and, we have a great relationship, but I sent away a boy at 15, and at 16, when he came home, he was a young man. He learned to, be responsible, be accountable. At that time, I didn't have a ton of Uber Eats and the opportunity for these kids to, buy a lot of things. I know my debit card was dinged quite a bit with Chipotle and Mod Pizza and Chick-fil-A or whatever, In-N-Out Burger or whatever. But for the most part, I knew he was in a good environment. But you're right, Stephen. It's today's parent, to separate themselves from their kid, because a lot of these parents, as I'm in Troy, Michigan, coaching U14s right now, a lot of these families, they're attached to their child.
Oh yeah.
They're there for all the games, all the practices, all the road trips and that type of stuff. So it is a huge adjustment, but I think it starts at home. If you have a good relationship and your son or your daughter is socially and mentally mature enough to handle some of those things, it's a great experience. I really enjoy the Billet family experience. I don't know if I'd want my son at 16 years old or 17-year-old living with a bunch of kids in a hockey house somewhere. I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure I would allow that to happen if that was the case when my son left.
Maturation is more than a birth year. Some kids are 20 and don't have the maturation of a 16-year-old, just the way it is. And the variance of that is what causes most of our problems in junior hockey. And we find most problems occur at the tier 3 level or pay to play level. And just by design, I think younger players get mixed up and put in teams because they're talented and they're playing with and against 19 and 20-year-olds that are there just playing out mama's dime. And the demands on the player's schedule, the lifestyle plays a bigger role than it should be. The Billet program, I think, is very important. Not knocking every East Coast situation, but I think families have to really dig in and make sure that there is a proper billet for the kid before sending him off into that situation. There's way too many temptations in a hockey house than there is in a billet family, and that's the way it is. Eric.
Yeah, I think there's no question. I think, and I know a lot of those Eastern teams that, I've got a couple kids playing out in some Eastern teams. If you're 18 and above and you want to live in a hockey house, a structured environment that is overseen by the coaching staff or whatever, but I think it should be a standard across the table. If you're under 18, you live with a billet, and that is the criteria. And I know that sounds good in theory, and it's hard to regulate, but in my position, if I'm ever in a position to operate, coach, or GM a junior team that is pay to play and not the North American USHL, or that those standards of play are different, that would be a really simple, hard, fast rule. If you're underage, you live with a billet, and I think that would eliminate 95% of the problems, because no longer are you having a 20-year-old influencing a 17-year-old to make bad choices. And I'm not saying that's exactly what happens, but if you're away from home for the first time at 16 and 17 and you see your teammates that are 19 and 20 that have been away from home for 2 or 3 years, it becomes habitual, right? It becomes learned behavior. And that's where I think some of these junior teams get in trouble too. The oversight doesn't exist for a number of reasons. I'm not saying negatively, just for a number of reasons. And that's the stuff we hear most of. We don't hear about the good billet families and the great structure and the great program. And some programs can actually maneuver the hockey houses and the apartments really well. Some people do a really good job with it. But that's where, as a parent and a player, you need to do your homework. You need to make sure you do your research on each organization. It may look good and got nice shiny baubles and nice uniforms, and the coach is selling a really good spool of yarn, but do your research, because that's extremely important. The last thing you want to do is be heading to another team because your billet situation and or your housing situation wasn't up to par.
Absolutely. What we do pretty much every year is we send our players out to at least 3 different teams during the course of the season, and they send it with a parent to make sure that visit the team, skate, see where they are at level, and talk to their players. How is your billet situation? How is the workout situation? And the kids get a really good grasp in season of what things are like. I think that's really important. Well, folks, Eric, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Hopefully,
Thanks for having me.
Tomas has me on a different setup this morning. I'm all alone in my office. Tomas is somewhere else, and we're kind of preparing for life when I'm on the road in February. We'll be on the road about 10 days a month. So we're going to test this system out today, see if it works. If you like it, let us know. If you can't hear me very well, let me know. I might switch to the headset or a mobile mic of some sort. But until tomorrow, hope that you enjoy your morning coffee and have a great day in hockey.